Hi, my name is Diego Gomez, and this is my mechanical dissection. So today I'm going to be dissecting this alarm clock here. This alarm clock was manufactured by Crossley. Crossley is a company that was founded in 1989. They also manufacture turntables, so in case someone wants to DJ on the weekends, like Dr. Mara often does, just give them a holler. So alarm clocks are pretty straightforward. They're used to wake people up. Um, So there are a couple of key components on the outside of this guy. So we have our leg stands right here, um, which looks like it was a pretty straight manufacturing process. It was most likely cast uh, or forged, and then there is some machine process to give some of its important features, like this little divot right here. The clear section of the alarm clock, one would think it's glass, but it's actually not. It's actually some sort of plexiglass that was cut from some sort of sheet and then fitted into the alarm clock towards the end of the process. The side part of the alarm clock, or the main part, is a very shiny metal. It is not silver. The Target description of this alarm clock will say that it's a silver alarm clock, but it is definitely not silver. But it has been forged and then machined and then given a really nice finish to almost give a silver tone, but it is not in fact silver. So it is machined to give some of this feature right here, this feature right here, and finally towards the end of the process, the side piece of the alarm clock is actually pressed to fit the alarm clock, the plexiglass portion of the alarm clock in. The same can be said about the bell. The bell is most likely cast and then fitted and machined using appropriate dimensions. The handle of it is most likely extruded to give it that sort of handle dimensions. And finally, the barbell of the alarm clock is a really interesting piece because it has this circular section right here, this section, and it also has a thin section right here. So was most likely what happened is that they extruded this part to its required features and then connected to this version of this separately. So flipping this alarm clock, we have a couple other key components of it. So here we have this on-off switch right here, which is hopefully pretty visible, and it turns off the alarm clock of the turns off the alarm. So we have two dials right here. This dial right here turns the alarm and sets the alarm. The dial on the left um, actually sets the time accordingly. And then finally we have this button right here, which all it does is it turns the light on the alarm clock. There's a light on the side right here, on this side. I will turn the light so you can see it in the dark. So the battery is a C-volt battery. It just takes one. So let's take a look inside. So take a look inside. I removed one of the sections of the components just to give a more cleaner assembly. So here we have the dials right here that I mentioned. You can kind of see them right here. The left one and the right one. This controls the alarm. This controls the time. So the other important parts we have is right here we have a motor. And then we also have this bracket that holds the motor in place. We have this plastic holder right here. This holder holds the barbell together through this one little screw right here. And this holder looks like it's made out of plastic, and it's most likely molded since we want to make many quantities of these guys. Then the last component that I wanted to go over, and probably the most major one, is the gearbox of the alarm clock, which goes right here. So the gearbox, this is the gearbox after taking out the outside part of it, the top side of the gearbox. So here we have a couple of key components. So how we have all our gears here, and right here, let's see if that focuses in. You have this right here, which is a quartz crystal. This quartz crystal is used to regulate the time in any clock, any quartz powered clock. So any signal that comes into the gearbox will be regulated by this quartz crystal right here. So the other important part is this solenoid right here. This solenoid is connected once these wires right here connected to the battery. A current will be induced by the solenoid, which will create an electromagnet. This electromagnet will turn this gear. This gear is very, very important because it has a magnet underneath it. So the electromagnet will turn this gear, which will subsequently cause further rotations of the different gears in this gearbox. So this blue gear is also very important because this middle tab of the gearbox has an opening on the other side, and this gearbox will this blue gear will transfer the torque from this gear train to the other gear train. So the other gear train is right here. So this gear is the one that is connected to the blue gear in this middle tab. It will transfer torque. So depending on the combination of gears, one set of gears will drive the minute hand. One set of gear will drive the second hand, and then the other one will drive the remaining hand. So looking at the gears, some of the important features of this gear is that, as you can tell, some of these gears are actually 3D printed. Like this gear in particular, this blue gear, has been 3D printed. This gear is made out of plastic, but there's this small gear right here is actually made out of acrylic, which is really interesting considering that it's the only gear here that's actually made out of acrylic. So the way the whole system works is that once we set that alarm to a specified time, it will hold that memory in, and once it reaches that time, a signal will be sent to the motor from the gearbox. The motor will begin to run. The motor will begin to run, and the rotation of the output shaft will cause this plastic holder to move left to right, and then it can only be stopped from the signal from this on-off switch. So this will turn it off. So that's pretty much how it works. Given all the components and cheap components of this alarm clock, it's a fairly cheap alarm clock. It goes for about $11, but it is really fascinating, these gears. I love how these gears are made, either by 3D printing or some sort of mold. But nonetheless, they're super, super interesting because of how many teeth they have and how precise they were able to do. So that's definitely something to consider when making gears like these, is that making sure they mesh well together and that the material you're working with are sturdy enough. So this alarm clock is not working in particular because it's missing a gear. So on the side of this gear, the magnet gear that is inducted is supposed to go one gear right here. So this gear is missing, and so the gear train is incomplete. So if you were to try to rotate the clock hands, it would not work. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm really fascinated by all the gears and how much gears there are and how intricate the system is in terms of making this alarm clock work, considering how cheap it is. But yeah, I really thank you guys for watching, and hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Thanks.